Both those things are awful. Those are two awful things here.
Okay.
How's it going?
Liam,
Hello.
how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
We're great.
Thanks for having me.
Good. The corner's on the cob. Liam Cobb is here.
The audio's all doubling up for me.
Is it? Oh, this is a bad time for the audio to go wrong, isn't it?
Corn on the cob.
Hey.
Straight away, Crampmaster Zach is saying, is that the Finland episode? No. Iceland.
No.
Right?
Yeah, Iceland. I think he must have been trying the fermented shark, which is an old delicacy, and some Brennivine, which is like a snaps. And the fermented shark is when they would catch shark and save it over like the winter, and they'd let it like ferment in its own juices, aka like urine. It would ferment and last over the winter months ages ago, but it's still now like a kind of more of a dare to eat it, or just to trick some tourists into having
Have you
it.
ever had that?
Yeah, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
It smells like this cheese called Stinking Bishop.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really smelly, but it actually has a bit more of it's more mellow in flavour. And then the Brennivine is just like a shot of any sort of alcohol.
Yeah, I think I lived in Chicago for a long time, and there was like a prank drink there called Malort, which is like it's the most disgusting liquor imaginable. But that's the thing, when people come and visit, it's like, oh, you have to try this, and it's obviously disgusting.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
You should mention you're in Reykjavik, right? You live in Reykjavik?
I've lived here for 4.5 years. Yeah.
What's there? How come? Why Reykjavik?
Met a girl.
Oh, yeah.
In London. She was from here.
Yeah.
And we decided to give it a go after a bit
Iris?
of board. Iris Erlingsdottir is her name.
Oh, I didn't realize she was Icelandic.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. She lived in UK for so long that she lost any sort of accent. She moved there when she was like a teenager, right at that time when you don't want to stand out in any way. So just like assimilated pretty quickly into like the secondary school system there.
So you were there for the big. You were there for the Euros when they got to the quarterfinals.
No, that was before. I was in London, witnessing lots of heartbroken English fans.
Yeah, I saw a guy cry at the end of that one, but yeah, that was pretty massive for Iceland, I guess.
They were on cloud nine. They were loving it.
Yeah, Simon, you still having audio problems?
No, I took out my AirPods and reset, and it's all fine. Yeah, you guys were doubling up. It was like a swirling medley of voices, and I was trying to cut through, but I'm back to normal now. I don't know why this keeps happening. We're still sorting out the streaming.
Yeah. We're back to business.
You are in Reykjavik, Liam. When I went to Reykjavik in 2009, the dogs seemed to say voff, voff. They didn't say woof, woof. They said voff, voff. Can you confirm this?
Yes, we call them, to my 3-year-old, we call them voffies. There's like a little woofy is voffy. Yeah.
So it wasn't just me then?
No, I don't think so. No. All the other farm animals and stuff, they have a slight accent.
Yes, they do. They have foreign accents.
Yeah, it's
intriguing.
strange.
It's a magical land. I'm jealous that you live in Iceland. It is a lovely. Reykjavik was a lovely town. Reminds me of Tasmania, where I'm from, but with a bit more culture and class, a bit less scummy.
Right. Okay.
This is unique to Iceland, right? I've never heard of any place where animals have an accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sheep. the sheep have an accent. The cows have an accent. It's crazy.
I met a cat in the street who went meow. It wasn't like meow. It was meow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Lilt.
Meow.
Yeah.
Meow. It's sounding a bit Swedish, but it's all Nordic.
Does it influence your artwork at all? Because Just seeing the colours of this background here, it does kind of seem a bit Cobb-esque, a bit corn on the cob, a bit Cobb salad, a bit cobblestones, a bit corn cob pipe.
I'd be lying if I said it hadn't sort of filtered its way in. Of course, I think trips coming here before moving here, it sort of like worked its way in quite quickly. This sort of like barren, sort of stark landscape mixed with these sort of like there's a bunch of modernist architecture here, as well as this sort of like sort of more traditional Icelandic ironclad buildings and stuff, which are quite cute.
Was most of this book drawn before you moved to Iceland, or?
Yeah, it would have been.
I've hardly drawn any comic stuff since moving to Iceland. That's the one downside.
Well, you wouldn't, would you? I mean, it's kind of like it's nice to be outside, right?
Not really. No.
I've never been. It's freezing in Iceland. I've never been as cold as I have. I went in the peak of winter. It was disgustingly cold. It's terrifying.
Yeah, and there's hardly any. I mean, there's like this big, like, culture of like writing and storytelling here. And I think it's like the winter months where you can't really go out. Everyone's stuck indoors, and they just have this like they have most writers per capita. That's what they love. They have a lot of stuff per capita because it's quite a large country in a way, similar size to England, but with like the population of like a borough of London.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, as far as like, other countries go, a lot of this stuff, like, this kind of feels like Swiss Alp kind of, like, are you, are these like from drawings from traveling, or like, are you drawing from life in like some of these backgrounds? Like, it really feels like you're in, it's not, doesn't feel like a Google image search. It seems a bit more like you've been to these places.
Very complimentary there,
That's
Josh.
cool. Yeah, thank you. Because it probably was just a Google image. I think, I wanted that comic in particular to feel like a vague European, travel log thing. I may have. I'm not sure. I've never been to Switzerland or like anywhere near the Alps.
Or anywhere nice.
Anywhere, just England and Iceland.
So how did you come into comics, Liam? I first met you in 2016, I think, at the Safari Festival. I have a copy of Silica Burn #2 here. I've got the first one. This was you and Will Tempest and Tom Kemp, aka Hollywood Hacking.
Yes.
So
a more refined, handsome version of Simon Hacking.
A younger version of Simon Hacking. Yeah. Crusty old Breakdown Press co-publisher.
Yeah.
But was this the earliest sort of stuff you started in 2016? Kind of. I mean, what were your beginnings with comics?
I could go back quite far to like being a kid, reading Beano and stuff. But I think classics, and then from there reading some superhero stuff, and then sort of winding up on this sort of like this website called Tumblr.
We all
know it. And on there was like a sort of scene, as I remember, like the comics workbook.
Frank Santoro. Yep.
Another classic. And Will Tempest and Tom had done that. And
like the course, they'd actually done the school course with Frank.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, they did that. I think they enjoyed it, and I hadn't done it, but we sort of bonded over that because I was following it and sort of like discovering comics, like these sort of like arty comics, I guess, or something.
This was like 2013, 2014, 2015.
Yeah. So I would have graduated from art school. In art school, I would have made some comics for like studying illustration.
Where'd you go to art school?
Camberwell Art College, which was like right down the road from where I grew up.
Convenient.
I kind of thought it just happens to be one of the more interesting colleges in the whole country. Happens to be just down the road from where I live. But I ended up quite quickly moving out because staying at your mum and dad's art school didn't seem that cool. And so that was around in art school, I think I would have discovered like Harvey P. Carr and Robert Crumb, like proper. And I kind of made like a couple of autobiographical comics, like heavily influenced by Robert Crumb, and watching that documentary Crumb and just being like blown away.
Similar thing. Were you self-publishing these comics or just drawing them?
Yeah, so I graduated 2011, and before that, our illustration course got its hands on a risograph machine, so I was able to like risograph some comics there, self-publish them. Joe Kessler was in like the year or two above me at Camberwell, and so he was also like making comics there and stuff as well, and that's where I met Joe. And then from there, going to like a couple of festivals in London, around other parts of the UK, and getting to know Tom and Simon through Joe and Gosh, the comic book shop. And
yeah, great shop.
And then
good boys, Tom and Simon from Breakdown Press. I think Josh from Gosh also part of the Breakdown Press crew.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's a great shop. Whenever I go back to London, I go there.
I remember them teasing you a little bit in 2016. They were teasing you and calling you Shrowan Jr.
Okay. I did this one comic after reading Arson Shrowan, and it was probably a bit yeah.
Would that have been Green Graves?
No,
fantastic piece. I remember picking this up, I think, in 2016, and around the time they were teasing you. But yeah, one of my favorites is this is collected in What Awaits Them. This is one of my favorite Cobb bangers.
Yeah,
that's brutal slow death comic. 2016. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one was influenced by like reading a bunch of books about like travelers and like the Amazon rainforest, like these sort of like Victorian English explorers, these kind of like posh guys that would like save up, try and get a bunch of money from like the science, like I don't know, like government funded or personal funded for science, to then go travel for a year in the Amazon and like with the keep diaries, and some of those diaries are quite funny. It just sounded horrible for most of the time, like people just almost having maggots falling out of their bodies about to say, stuff.
Almost a horror comic. The stuff with like the maggots in the arms. I think later on the guy's talking and they're just the maggots that are falling out of his head. Quite visceral, quite disturbing.
That's always been, that was good. I kind of drew that quickly. It was like a Safari Festival, RIP. There was like, I think it was like in like a month's time, and I wanted a new comic out for Safari Festival, and it was like a really hot London July, and I just read these books and was just like really inspired, and I was just like sweating away like topless on this drawing board for a month straight, and just like knocked out these pages. Like they're just like really just hammering in this like crayon and just like big thick pencil line, and just trying and like listening to like jungle noises and stuff, trying to like get into the zone.
Lovely mark making, it really is. It's a lovely piece.
Thank you. Yeah, I also read this book by Werner Herzog, and it was his diaries of making Fitzcarraldo. It's called Conquest of the Useless. It's a really good book. It's just like sort of a fever dream type like journal, and it's just like some random stuff in there. Like there'll be a passage where he's like, "Today I finished a book and felt so lonely, I buried it at the edge of the forest." And it'll also be like, "Today at the market I ate grilled monkey. It looked like a small child." And just these strange stuff. And then like a bunch of Klaus Kinski stuff as well. Anyway, it just like
you moved on from the Beano to
right
to Kinski, and
there's still like a through line there though, for sure.
Your busiest period seemed to be 2016 to 2018. Like everything collected in what awaits them. I've most of them here. I've got Slow Drift, which is in there, and a conditioner, shampoo, lather, bastard building. Puritan's Wife not included in the collection for some reason, and there's the Inspector and the Fever closing, which are and Green Graves. Because it does seem quite selective what you've put in this book. Or I don't know if you chose that or Tom brutally edited you at not Drawn and Quarter, so not Tom Devlin, Tom Oldham at Breakdown Press.
Tom Oldham, yeah, I wanted to put everything in, but Tom was like, no, not this.
Really? Actually?
No, not really. No, so, it was all my own. I think he was keen to have more in than I wanted. It was just like some of it felt like Puritan's Wife to me feels slightly too labored and maybe treading similar ground to like the cowboy comic and Green Graves in a way. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on that particular one.
Certainly with the patterning and stuff in the background, but yeah, it's a long piece. I mean, it's a rarity now. I mean, I don't know where you can pick these up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we made just 100 of those.
Wow, I'm glad I've got one.
Yeah, you've got some rarities there.
Yeah, I've got the conditioner, shampoo, and lather. I'm glad I've got the 3 of those. And so, yeah, some of this stuff made it in, like Adapting Walls and was it 2 Men in the Jungle that made it in. But yeah, so some real rarities in here. Do you think there'll be another collection in the future, or sort of like, this is what you wanted it to be? This is your statement.
This is it. Yeah.
It's a fantastic book. I mean, we both read it in the last week. I've been a fan for a long time, and I've read all this stuff. But as a book, this is, I think, a really cohesive unit. I think, Josh, you had a banger of a time with it as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How do you decide like what a comic's going to look like? Because everything is so different. Is this just like periods of like figuring like things out? Because the horror stuff is kind of always a bit sparser, but like much looser. And then you've got these Mixer Man ones, which is just like these are comedy. These are like hilarious comics, like
dense as well, like and really funny. I mean, like there's the slow pace, slow burn sort of horror kind of drama stuff, and then the last one in particular is just like fucking hilarious. The Inspector, it's brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like that was my most successful sort of idea to conception to final product. Was like
how are you? Like,
that's what I'm pleased with. But
how are you coloring this stuff? And are these just ink drawings? And then how are you coloring it after that?
Yeah, so all the line art that you see in all these comics is like on paper, and then I would usually scan them in and then like add color or like shading. But these were all, I think all of them were risographed. So they would have all been sort of like put together on a computer with that in mind. So when we went back to look at the files for the collection, like the risograph as a machine and the print process is very forgiving, I think, to like a sort of like janky digital page. It just gives it this like really nice quality. And so a load of the pages that I'd done for the Inspector and for the Adapting Walls, say, they were quite ugly, and it would have been quite ugly if you just sent them straight to the printer. And so I ended up like scanning in some of the pages and like laying them over for this.
Laying them over.
So digital and scanned. Like I scanned in all my self-published Breakdown Press risograph comics, and kind of like laid them over with a digital file as well. It was quite laborious, and I wouldn't recommend it. But it was kind of like the way I thought it would look like it's optimal color and texture.
I mean, I'm assuming this is offset. I mean, they've not Riso printed this, but yeah, it does have a Riso look. I mean, I'm going through the Riso floppies and looking at the actual comic, and it does give a sense of risograph. It's so textural, and it does. I'm surprised it's digital coloring, but I don't do any digital coloring. I'm all completely lo-fi, so to me, I don't know how you do this, but it really does look textural and like watercolor and real to me. You've tricked me. You got me. Good job, Liam.
Cheers. Yeah. Yeah, it was just like coloring them would have been digital, and back getting them ready for risograph. So then I'd like send a file to the printer, being like, this is how I imagine it looking, and then like all the sort of like different layered risograph files for them to print. It gets a bit complicated.
Yeah, because like when you're doing, I don't know if it, like this like water here.
Mm-hmm.
How's that like? That's not just like one. That's not like just a single flat color. Is that like a looks like a pencil drawing almost?
It's like a texture sample or something.
It's a photo. It was a photo that I would have found online, and put it onto my digital file, and then sent that. And then the risograph would have made it just look really nice. So you can have these like, these like sort of like quite ugly, like I was saying, these like ugly digital files where it literally has a photo of some water next to some line art that you've just done. And,
I see you've got like the marble texture in here as well and stuff on the hotel there.
Yeah.
So just a mix of textures. Are you making your own textures and stuff like the watercolory type stuff? I mean, obviously this mountain back here, that's your style of sort of patterning and stuff. You've brought a pencil scroll sort of pattern in there and colored it up. Lovely effect there.
Yeah, most of the time it'll be, I guess, my own sort of like texture. But
you're doing your own texture samples.
For some things.
Yeah. My terminology is not up for you.
Texture samples.
You computer men. Magic. Alchemy.
Does the coloring end up taking the bulk of the time for these comics? Like especially this Michelin Man one?
Could do. Yeah. Little sponsor there.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the color takes with the Michelin Man one with the coloring. I got bored quite easily, quite quickly making it, and so I sort of had some fun doing the colors, and that if you're having a bit more fun, it seems to go quicker, and you look sort of like I was like caring less.
This is one of those pages you probably had like it's like experiment with this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so these like backgrounds here, they're just like they're not consistent or anything, but it was just like sort of thought like if I'm having fun, maybe the reader enjoys it too.
Yeah, I was thinking as I was reading it, like these changing backgrounds kind of mirrors like the tasting menu kind of thing of like
Right. Yeah.
Like
deep stuff. Some deep chat about craft.
Okay. Yeah.
What was your last comic that came out, Liam? Was it The Prince from Retrofit Big Planet in 2018? Was it?
I think.
Did you do anything after that?
Inspector came out after that.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Kind of was my last published comic. I've been in a illustration animation wilderness since then. I've been like sort of like sucked up into that industry a little bit. But
yeah, I know you worked on Fired on Mars, a show by a buddy of mine, Nate Sherman.
Oh, okay. Your buddies.
I'm a buddy with Nate Sherman. He's a buddy of mine. Yeah. But yeah, lovely show. And lovely backgrounds in there. Lovely Cobb background. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you checked it out.
No, not enough people watched it. It was frustratingly not given any press by HBO or Max or whatever the fuck it was on. But yeah, why would you produce a show and then not fucking publicize it at all and just let it die? But yeah, great show, great background, great design, which you were a part of.
Thanks.
There's a big Netflix show out now that you've worked on and stuff. You're mostly just been doing this.
Yeah, I blame Jesse Moynihan. He got me
really
into
bastard.
Midnight Gospel. I did like a bunch of background work on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did you said you did mostly background work on?
Yeah, Midnight Gospel, and then I've done a bunch of other small animation stuff, and then the other big thing would be Fight on Mars, which I worked on mostly last year.
Yeah, I know a few people who worked on Midnight Gospel. That was like seems like one of the more like creatively free for the artists, like as far as animation gigs go.
Yeah, it was my first animation gig, so I didn't really know any different. I was just like, oh, this is pretty funny. They're just like, just kind of draw, what you want, as long as it looks a bit like this, or like, we don't know what we want for this background. It can be mirrors, or it can be some like sort of like dragon head thing. And you're like, oh, okay, not knowing like how this show is gonna like come together.
I mean, it's kind of like it shows to just kind of trust artists, because there's so much stuff constantly happening, but it feels all cohesive. It's like beautiful show. Have you seen that, Simon? Did you watch Midnight Gospel?
I have, yeah. I found it hard to concentrate on because I usually watch TV when I'm drawing, and it was so swirly and exciting and visually exciting. So I can't watch this while I'm working. So I watched a couple of episodes and I haven't touched the rest because it's just too distracting from work. But yeah, lovely production.
The finale, I think I cried on the finale, and then I was like,
no, that's what I think everyone did. Yeah.
I didn't watch this.
I was showing someone a clip of the finale. I just cried on the YouTube clip of it too. It's fucking absolutely devastating.
I think Penn Ward, that last sort of scene, that's like what made him want to do the whole show. Because I think Duncan Trussell approached him with the idea, and he had these like podcast recordings and stuff, and he was like, okay, this could be interesting to like match them together with this in this animation. But yeah, that sort of last episode was quite I knew it was coming, and I watched it with Iris, and it was quite odd because I drew a lot of backgrounds in that particular scene so I was watching my work looking at Iris, and she was crying. I was just like, oh, okay. It was great. I loved it. It's fun working on a thing that's like, bigger than the sum of its parts, being like part of a team and stuff. Is quite
Do you miss that? Do you miss the lonely sequential arts though? I mean, I imagine that you'd be quite satisfied working in the way you're working now, because you've always been a very architectural drawer. You've always enjoyed large splashy pin-ups and just drawing. You're fantastic at sequential stuff. Your pacing's great, your dialogue's great, but I imagine your itches are being scratched. You're jonesing to come back to comics and make no money.
Definitely. Whenever I think of like my own sort of personal project, it's always in the form of a comic. It's kind of like story, drawing, book. So I have been working on a couple of things.
Oh, very nice.
One is hopefully coming out next year. But I've been working on it for so long. It keeps on stopping and starting. I, sort of work on it when I have a chance to, and then it kind of like I sort of have to restart a bit each time. I have to get back into. So it's a bit of a troubled production in a way. I kind of need to get it just done, but it keeps growing. It could be like it's not even that long, like over 100 pages, but it's sort of long, but it's long enough to take 4.5 years since I moved to Iceland.
Yeah. Well, no rush, I guess. You're busy being a dad, and hopefully the animation work's taking care of the bills, and
Yeah, mostly I've been doing illustration stuff, like sort of random jobs here and there.
Anything fancy, like New Yorker type, New York Times stuff, or things like that?
whenever they email me, the New York Times, I'm always too busy, and they need it the next day. And I was like, oh, sorry, I can't. But you know, next time, and then I don't hear from them for like another year. It's kind of I don't know. You have to like stay in the loop a bit with some of these things.
What's
It feels like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
What's the comics scene like in Iceland? Is there a festival? Is there
There
Yeah.
was I work with this guy Sam Reese, who is this guy who makes zines and stuff, and he runs a course in the art school, and I help teach like a little short comics course there
Nice.
for like art students. And years ago, pre-COVID, he would do this like sort of zine comic fair, but it was kind of like underfunded, sort of slightly misunderstood. And I think it was just too much hard work for him, basically. And so he stopped doing that, unfortunately. But there is like an art book fair, and I did that earlier this year, and I sold a bunch of comics.
nice.
Made money for the table. So that's always
Nice.
a win. Yeah, it
Break
was like
even.
I broke even. It was 4 days. It was quite long.
4 days. Wow.
Yeah, like a
Wow.
Thursday evening, like into the evening, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Good lord.
Yeah, I mean, I hardly spent any time behind the table because I would have just gone mad.
It's 3 days too many, isn't it?
You just need one beautiful day. You don't need 2 days, 3 days.
Can't
Yeah.
really imagine Iceland supporting such a festival. Like when I went there was a small comic shop next to a sex store, and I walked into a weird little gallery, I think down next to like the city library, and I was like, at the time I was like, wow, Ben Jones has a show here, but it was just a European imitator of Ben Jones and Paper Rad, and but it was like a cool little art space, and they had like, you know, cool drawings on the wall, and it seemed kind of hip and stuff, and kind of clued into what was happening internationally. And
yeah,
you know, there was definitely a scene. There was some stuff going on, and obviously it's the music scene in Iceland, and you know, it's known for its Bjorks and its Sigur Rosses or whatever. And
exactly, yeah.
Is it happening there? Is it jumping a bit, or it's sort of quiet?
In terms of comics, it's a little quiet. But there's a healthy art scene and music scene.
Wally Gropius says, Liam, have you had any contact with the Icelandic Comic Society?
I think I have met I think I met one of the organizers at the art book fair, and I think not much has happened since then, but I know I think they were involved with recently translating Scott McCloud's How to Draw Comics from like the 90s or something.
Really?
That's recently been translated, and I think he did like a Skype call, which I missed, unfortunately, like an interview meeting that they set up. So I'm aware of them, and I know that.
Do people in Iceland generally read like comics in English, or is there a big like translation thing over there?
They like to translate stuff as much as possible. I imagine if people are sort of into comics, they'll just read them in English. Like everyone sort of knows English well enough and can read it here. But there are some things recently I've seen they've translated some like Mobius stuff and things like that. And so yeah, there are things happening here or there, but like I'm mostly in like my studio illustrating here, but I do share a studio space downtown in this old government building that's been converted to like artist studios, and there's like a lot of people here, so I'm often rubbing shoulders with like photographers, musicians, that kind of thing.
Are you considered like a big dog on the scene, like, you know, Hollywood Cobb? Old Cobby Wood, you know, with his fancy TV HBO gigs, and you know, he's in the bloody New Yorker and stuff with his big breakdown press books.
I think I've not really. No, I don't think so. No. I'm not sure if that many people know I'm here. I've had one Icelandic client. since living here.
They just ignore you as a horrible foreigner. Do you speak Icelandic? Have you learned? It's a very tricky language, very long words.
It's a very hard language to learn.
Have you picked it up? I mean, you must be trying to immerse yourself in it. You're at least just saying "tak" at the shops, you know, just like sheepishly, "Oh, tak."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tak fere. If I can keep up with my toddler, then I'm doing okay. I figure. But you know, he goes to kindergarten here, and will now start coming back home and start saying a few Icelandic words that I don't know, and it starts to worry me. And then eventually he'll just be like saying stuff to me, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. Or I'll be getting him to translate for me, and he'll just be embarrassed by his foreign dad who can't speak the language. He's just a bit of a loser. So we'll see. I've been to school to, you know, learn the basics, and I kind of like try out some Icelandic on unsuspecting people in hospitality or something. I enforce them to listen to my shit Icelandic, and then they try not to go straight to English, but a lot of the time people will just be like, let's just cut to the chase here.
So
it's
just do your
tricky.
English, mate. Yeah, just do your English.
Yeah. It's
That's
the
what I do with
curse
France.
of being English.
Yeah, I don't bother when I travel. Everyone's like, "Oh, you got to learn a bunch of phrases." Oh, fuck that. I'm just, you know, it's just easy to just be like, "All right, mate, come on, bring me the fish. Like, come on, let's not fuck around here. You don't want to hear my broken French. You know, come on.
Yeah,
I don't want you to, you know, because then they think you speak French and they start just blah 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 blah. It's like, hey, slow down. I was just being polite with a learned phrase. Like, let's just cut to the shit.
Yeah, it can just be a bit
read
awkward.
the sagas? Have you read the sagas?
Okay. I have read some of them. They're quite funny. They're quite brutal. There's a lot of revenge.
It says here, Ale Saga, the long and brutal life. Yeah.
Okay.
Dense stuff. Oh, God.
Yeah. And there's a lot of like like Erling Jonsson, son of Jón Ketjason, who was son of Karl Calverson. It's just like listing like family trees, and then like someone did something.
It's all broken down the back. You know, they got you. It's just trying to explain it all. I read this whole thing back in the day when I went to Iceland, and it was very just.
Were you just on holiday?
Yeah, just there for a week or something, just driving around out on the beaches, around the ring road, and checking out all the touristy stuff.
Was that when you lived in England?
Yeah.
Not
that was
from
cheap.
Down under. Yeah, it must have been
not from Australia.
No, that must have been quite different then. I think it's changed quite a lot.
Really, in the last decade or so? Or what do you mean, like gentrified? I mean, what's happened?
There's just like a lot more tourists here, a lot more hotels, a lot more like restaurants.
Really?
Kind of gentrified.
Well, there were limited eating places. Like I found that nice pizza place, but it was quite limited. I remember my ex-girlfriend and I were a girlfriend at the time, but walking around like, where the fuck are we going to eat? And all the dogs going voff voff and the and it's like, what the fuck?
Okay, yeah. No, yeah. Even the dogs and the cats are sort of like they're like to tourists. They're a bit more like meow and woof.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of sad, actually.
Losing its cultural identity for the foreign animals.
Yeah. I feel mixed about it sometimes. Like I feel this sort of like guilt of not learning Icelandic, and
you piece of shit.
Just terrible foreigner. But so typical of sort of foreigners that move here.
Well, do you live in an area with a lot of foreigners? Like my nan moved to France, and she lives in a little village with only English people.
Okay, I love those areas. That's not quite. I don't think there's nowhere like that in Iceland, but the closest is where I live, which is like downtown Reykjavik, where there's just like a lot of anyone who's sort of like a bit of an expat mostly lives in Reykjavik.
Everything else is small towns. I mean, Reykjavik's like the main hub.
The only city.
Yeah. Everything else is just small towns.
Yeah, exactly. Or like
Like,
farmland.
all the poshos from all different parts of Europe.
Yeah, there's a I don't know if it's some posh, some not so. But I don't know. It's a bit of a mix. Maybe it's a bit of a posh thing to move to a Nordic country. I don't know.
It's a bit. I think all types, right? I can imagine all types move into Iceland.
Yeah, but yeah, you get these like sort of like people who are into maybe like the mountain climbing and the glaciers and stuff there. Maybe they're used to these like skiing holidays and stuff.
A lot of artists, because I can imagine if you're living in Europe and maybe this is pre-Brexit when everybody could move everywhere, but I can imagine it's a place to go if you're doing something that you can do from home and you're making decent money. I can imagine Reykjavik is a place you'd want to go.
It has some appeal to some sort of appeal to artists and stuff. I think they love the landscape here, and there's this sort of scene. There's a relatively like healthy art scene here, and not too hard. Once you're in, you're sort of in, but it's like it's sort of like close knit in a way.
I don't think they're like, I think it's a bit tight, isn't it, with immigration? I think I recall like back in the day, just, it's not like a free for all. Like I couldn't just like move there. Like I think it's sort of a process. And it's a small place. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I was able to just move here. This is Brexit had been voted, but nothing had been implemented yet. So I was able to move here if I could just prove I had some work, and I was freelance and I was working on Midnight Gospel, and I was like, yeah, I'm working on this animation for half a year.
Fancy.
Okay, that's fine. Or if you don't have to be employed. All you needed was like €1,000 in your bank account.
You can just wander the streets, pissing in cats' faces, and just getting rotten, pissed on potato wine.
Yeah, exactly. Eating fermented shark and vomiting up and stuff into suburban gardens. But I think that's all changed now. I think it'd be trickier to move here.
Liam, how long was the gap between? Sorry to go back to boring book talk. How long was the gap between the two Michelin Man stories?
I think like 2 years.
Okay.
2016, 2018, I think. Yeah.
Was there a thing of just like you wanted to draw this character? Because it looks so fun to draw.
Yeah, he just like made me laugh. Just his expression, and I just wanted like an odd character.
There's one
early version here in the Silica Burn too. It's like a proto Michelin Man.
That was me trying to like make my own Michelin Man type character. Yeah.
Some of this stuff, like when he looks at the camera, like really, that makes me laugh out loud. It's
okay.
like a little cowardly kind of vibe on that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like when I made this first one, The Fever Closing, I didn't know too much about like all the Michelin star stuff. So I've watched like a bunch of like cooking shows, like MasterChef and stuff. And they keep going to these like Michelin star restaurants, and it's just like hilarious what they do in these restaurants. Me and Iris were just sitting there one day like, oh, you should totally do like a comic based on like Michelin Man going to these restaurants. And it was just like really funny that they're like anonymous, and it has this connection to like a tire company.
Yeah.
And like tires used to be white, and that's why the Michelin Man is white. And just like
the colors are very much pumped up, and the lines are very much thickened in the collected book.
Oh, what compared to the risograph?
This is the risograph there compared to the book. Yeah. Really thickened up lines and much more lustrous color. I prefer the book version, frankly.
Yeah,
the colors have come out much nicer, but still retains the risographishness of the original. But yeah.
Did you not have those guides as a kid? Like I would have the Michelin Guide to Clouds, and then you had to like tick off if you had like all different types of clouds, and it was just a way to get you to drive. I think everything they do is to make you drive, isn't it? To wear out the tires.
Right. Okay. To wear out your tires and buy more Michelin rubber.
So that is
Fucking.
like it would be a little Michelin guide have like 100 different types of trees, and you tick off when you see that tree.
I never had them, I think, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, we never had a car. I never had a car when I was growing up.
I guess you were in London, right? I guess.
Yeah, never needed it. Never needed it. Had the tube.
Yeah, got a nice tube.
I was saying to Simon, like, I want 200 more pages of the Michelin Man comics. You know, it's like, hello.
Okay, yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, maybe.
Get to work, Cobb. Come on, stop doing these animation projects and just draw more Michelin Man comics for us.
Yeah, no, I want to draw some sort of comic again.
Speaking of Michelin Man, there's a comic I bought today. It has kind of a red, evil Michelin Man on the front there.
Oh yeah,
a little bit.
Has it got like a 2001 spacesuit a bit as well? Did they have?
Maybe, yeah. This one 1993.
1993.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's a character that pops up in like pop culture, or like I've seen him in other sort of like 2000 AD comics and things like that, and yeah, here and there.
I always found like the 2000 AD comics to like be kind of depressing as a kid. They're just like there's something bleak about them. It was like America but rainier. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of like like muddy colors, just like no one's having a good time. It's quite. I guess it's just good old dystopia, right? It's like
yeah. Muddy's the right word. They were very like
almost like overly painted like work, but really dense kind of feeling. Like they'd pack the line art onto the page and it'd be quite dense with text as well. Hardworking writers and artists, but just like really like having I never quite got into much 2000 AD, but yeah.
I mean, I really like the clean, like Simpsons comics type thing as and the Beano kind of was still a bit depressing to me as a kid, but it's like I think it was depressing to me because I could only get the 70s Beanos for some reason I only had the old annuals, and it was just like kids being hit by teachers and stuff. So even the Beano was depressing to me.
Yeah, and they're all like kind of poor and like no prospects or anything, and they're just abused working class kids. Just
This is interesting. This is everyone should play. Simon, what's going on? You all right?
What?
You all right, Simon?
I was just feeling bad for you living on the Isle of Wight and having to read all these old sad Beanos from the past. It was the same for me in Tasmania. We were sort of like 10 years behind everyone else. Like just had all the old kids getting hit kind of media.
Were they the Beanos that would have like black and then another color? Like
maybe. It was like red. It would always be like just red and black.
or blue. Yeah. I do like the aesthetic of it.
Now I can appreciate it, but at the time I just wanted things to look like The Simpsons or Beavis and Butthead, just like
I just got my big stack of Radioactive Man comics. $10 I got all these for on eBay, but I had a great time looking through these. Did you ever read any of this bongo stuff when you were younger, Liam?
I think they did like Treehouse of Horror anthologies, right? Those were good. They had a bunch of different artists. I'm not sure if I ever had like. Did Sammy Harkham edit one?
Yeah, he edited one. Yeah, it was just like a Kramer's Ergot, but with Simpsons. It was cool.
I think I'm not sure if I ever caught that one as a kid, but I remember Simpsons comics.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen any. Like, I've not checked it out recently. But that was always felt a bit more accessible than like any. Like in the corner shop, there would be these like superhero. Looks great.
Beautiful. Look at that. They're ripping off your backgrounds there. They're sort of ripping off your Green Grave sort of Puritan's wife style pencil backgrounds.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, but like
Yeah.
compared to the superhero stuff, it always felt like that was more. Because the superhero stuff always felt like quite a bit impenetrable.
Yeah.
Like Iron Man 751 or whatever, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
going on
yeah.
here?
You mentioned you had a dalliance with the superhero stuff, but yeah, just a short dalliance. So same for
Yeah,
me
right.
when I was a kid. It was a bit impenetrable. Like, you know, I got into a bit of Wolverine and X-Men and Spider-Man, but yeah, it's like you're halfway into a history and a run and all different artists, and like I'd find one artist I liked, like I like Todd McFarlane or Eric Larson, but then like
Yeah.
different Spider-Man would be different worse artists, and I just got sick of it and just got into alternative comics, started reading 8-Ball and stuff. I'm like, oh fuck this.
Yeah, my dad introduced me to Chris Ware.
Really?
Yeah,
dad?
yeah. Yeah, my mum and dad are both artists.
Yeah.
And my dad's quite into like artist books and stuff. And yeah, he would have shown me Jimmy Corrigan when I was a teenager.
I know Jimmy Corrigan won the Guardian first book award in 2001 or something. That may have been
that my
dad's radar.
My Guardian reading dad leftist. Yeah, he would have been like, oh, that's interesting, a comic book. Yeah, so yeah, he would have shown that to me as well.
Did you ever enter the Guardian graphic fiction contest?
I did, but never
didn't win.
Never got anywhere. Never won. Never came. Not even second or third place.
You've fucking shown them, haven't you? Take that, Guardian, you tasteless, boorish morons.
Yeah.
My words, not Liam's. I'm just being sarcastic, but yeah, you know, so seen some of the winners over the years, and it's like, come on, get some better judges.
Yeah, it's a funny award thing. I'm not sure how much it translates. It kind of like lives more in this sort of like graphic novel foils book world, not like quite like the stuff I'm interested in. So I don't really pay much attention to it. But of course, it comes along a bit when you're at a certain age. You're like, oh, you know, you could win some money and maybe get a published comic. You're like, okay, try that. But they ask you to send in like either original or like really nicely printed pages, and you send them in and you don't get them back or anything. So right,
what?
Yeah, no, I never got mine back. Even
the original art, they're probably flipping it on eBay.
I never sent the original stuff, but I got it like nicely printed. It was like this little sci-fi story. I spent a bit of money on printing it and then sending it.
I feel bad for like poor younger artists sending in their originals and not getting them back. That's quite cruel and
I know what happened,
lazy on the Guardian's part.
I mean, that's my experience. Yeah. I had this was before any of the stuff put in this book. I had some Tumblr comic going, sort of like posting up random pages in like 2014 or something, and it was like this sort of dystopian story, and someone from Jonathan Cape saw it and like sort of got in touch and were like, hey, we'd be interested in maybe making this a book. And that kind of like sort of like I went into Jonathan Cape offices.
Wow.
And like sort of like had a meeting there a couple of times. And like we were like, oh yeah, would be sort of interested in doing this. We like your art and stuff. I was like, wow, okay, like, this is easy. Yeah, but it wasn't that easy, and it just got completely stuck on like sort of developing it in like a sort of like early ideas script stage, and I kept writing new sort of like, you know, sort of like synopsis of what the story could be, and each time they were like, nah, could you try something else? I just kept going until it was just like pain. Like the last time I was just like, oh, I just want this. I don't want to do this anymore. This is like any sort of creative enjoyment or like enthusiasm for the whole thing was like weaning on my side. And definitely, I think on their side, they were like, I don't think it's going to work.
Sounds a bit grim.
And I'm really glad that I don't think it was ever really going to happen, but I'm glad it didn't, because I think it would have been quite painful to look at now. I think it would have been a really bad comic.
Jesus.
Like,
but good to have that experience, and we've been exciting at the time and motivating until it became horrible.
yeah. I think I realized in that process that like I work in a like sort of like maybe a scattered way and can't quite like for each of these the comics in this, like each way of working on them was like different. Like either like I'd do a script for one of them and then draw it from there, or just like I sort of started drawing something that I wanted to draw that day and I thought would maybe develop. So it's just like there's not like a specific routine for me making comics.
Certainly what I recommend for younger cartoonists like starting out, don't get bogged down in a long project. Like experiment, do short stories, and then and it's coalesced into a lovely singular unit in this book. And you're able to follow different passions and not be stuck doing some horrible corporate by committee kind of jail, like an inky jail.
You would have signed a proper contract and you would have been stuck having to do that, and it would still not be that much money in it, probably. I don't
probably
know.
not. I mean, you sell 2,000, 3,000 copies, get your royalty 8% off of that, so you make like maybe a couple of grand if you're lucky in royalties, and you spend years doing it and you don't enjoy it, and
no, I know people that have like worked on comics like for years, like doing one comic, and then it comes out and sort of like nothing really happens, and it's just like I don't know. I think, and then like it's like that and then they never make a comic again, kind of thing.
Well, that's a lot of work, and there's not a huge market for comics. I think there's a lot of chatter these days of people like, we need a living wage for comics. We want like massive $150,000 advances. It's like it's all well, but your book sell enough copies to cover that advance from a publisher. Like the way you've done it is the way you make all these little books along the way. You sell them individually. You get the cash in. You work with auto press, whatever, breakdown press, different little presses, get your money in, do your book collection, do your work on the side, and you can make a living out of cartooning and drawing and
for sure. And I'd say like all the illustration work has come from making comics, like where they act like little portfolios, like you make like 100, 200 or something and sort of slowly sell them. And you don't know where they go and like who sees them, and it was totally from there, and also Instagram, I think, where it's just like I sort of slowly started getting like contacted.
It makes sense because everything in here is so visually different from the last thing. Like I'm just looking at this Western slow drift, and it's it's like this could be a different artist to the Michelin Man comic. It makes sense.
I think like it's like a bit reactionary from like the last thing I've worked on. Sometimes I just like just don't want to do any more of like that, so then I try and do something different. I think it's also like sometimes the artwork is like sort of determined by like the story.
Is it are the comics chronological?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's not in chronological order, but I think
I mean, I can imagine something as glorious and like involved as like this one, and then wanting to do something slightly more stripped down, like the slow drip. Even though it's it's as visually stark, it's it's sparse.
Whatever happened? Tom Kemp. Someone's asking whatever happened to Tom Kemp. Cameron Arthur, who I think did Cameron Arthur make comics? I recognize that name. Tom. I've not heard much from Tom recently. I don't think he has made any comics recently.
So more fine arts, I think. I think Tom sort of moved more into sort of the
yeah, he's kind of
fine
like
arts.
yeah, I think he's in that world a bit more. I think he tried to explain what he was doing to me, or what he was doing to me once, and I could kind of follow it, but it was like a sort of like role playing fine art scenario piece. I think I might be getting that completely wrong, but yeah, he's sort of interested in like role playing games and sort of like different things like that.
So no new issue of Silica Burn coming out then?
Tom Oldham said that if we ever got Silica Burn free together, then he'd get Safari back. So,
all right, so no.
But that's a good motivation. I haven't approached Will War Tom about that, but Silica Burn free maybe. We ended up like printing quite a lot of those, and then the Silica Burn, it just took a while to sell them, and I think we were sort of like, whoa. It was fun to do it as a show, like have shows table together and stuff as like a group. That was fun.
You had a nice table at Safari 2016. You had like ceramics set up, like little ceramic faces, and it was a lovely table. Yeah. Very well presented. I was impressed. I met all you guys. Like, oh, these guys are the real deal. This is some good stuff.
Yeah. That was a good festival. Yeah, I remember. I think I remember like some guy. Did you draw on some guy's arm and he went straight to the tattoo parlor? I think I remember like him after the show coming back and like having like a freshly like a cling filmed.
It was all bloody. He came back. Yeah, they were these mad lads. They were all talking about ketamine and red wine and just, they were absolute mad lads. Yeah.
By far, my favorite like best-selling show was Safari. Those couple of years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite comic shows ever.
The one I went to in London was the London Zine Symposium. There's a lot of shit there.
Yeah, it was very tightly curated at Safari. It's the Breakdown Press guys. It's like the Famicom group and like Joseph P. Kelly and Silica Burn, and like Landfill. Yeah, Decadence.
So there'd been like Mob Map 3 would have been coming out and stuff, and Decadence. Yeah. Oh man,
it was all
crazy,
great stuff.
Really high quality, independent publishing stuff going on.
It was staunchly gatekept for the better.
Yes.
Now I've got a question here from Nate Garcia. Liam, what did you have for breakfast? Be honest.
Fermented shark grenadine.
And potato liquor.
Yes. Always start the day off like that. Just to deal with the darkness that is approaching these coming months. Which is like you wake up and it's dark. And then it's light for a few hours and it's dark again. And so any sort of... but if I'm not having that, I may have also had a bit of Greek yogurt and granola and chopped up banana.
Nice.
Some orange juice.
Got Cycle Cleveland here saying, loving Breakdown Press output. Thanks to Manga Chat for putting him on my radar. You're welcome. Great stuff. And Cycle Cleveland also says he saw that Web Shop in the US got a breakdown shipment the other day, including... What Awaits Them by Liam Cobb. So if you're in America and you don't want to get it from a regular bookstore and you want to buy it from a strange man who runs an online bookstore, you can get it from Wig Shop.
I believe Partners Son has this too, but I do recommend every single person watching buys it because it's a fantastic book.
Yeah, I've been hearing good things about this, Liam. People are in the scene, like, I've seen, someone like, I think the new Suge book and the new Klaus and this came out in the same week, and people were like, what a fucking trifecta, what a fucking week for comics. But I'm seeing a lot of goodwill. It's nice to see you get a bit of fucking respect, and you're a great fucking cartoonist. This is a fantastic fucking book. And
Thank you.
Josh and I highly recommend everyone goes out and grabs a copy of this. You can't go wrong with this. There's something for everyone in there. And you do have, I'm wrapping up. You can tell from the tone of my voice, it's 1 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock in Reykjavik. We're wrapping up. But you've got an event in London. You're traveling down.
I do. Yes, I am visiting the UK and going to be having a book launch at Gosh on the
November 8th.
November 8th. Yeah, Wednesday,
Right.
7
Wednesday.
o'clock.
I'll
I'm
miss
also sharing it with Ferry Guao, who has a comic out as well from Page Masters. We're sharing the event together.
Very nice. Sharing is caring. Very nice.
Exactly.
I'm going to be there the week after that. That's a shame I can't go, but yeah.
Oh,
You're going
no.
to the UK, Josh? What?
That's bad timing.
See my old mum. I'm doing a festival in France, and I'm stopping off in England to see how my mum's doing. I'm going to go to the National Gallery with Nathan Cowdery and see what mum's up to.
Is this
You're
just
gonna-
after a short run?
Yeah, I think I'm there 13th, 14th, and 15th of November.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, absolutely dreading it. Full of anxiety. You feel it's weird to go.
I have to go to Joe Matt's memorial on Sunday, and Jack can't come, so I got to either drive myself on the scary highway or get an Uber. And massive anxiety attacks about it. But anyway, I hate leaving the house.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're devolving into random
Okay.
chit chat now, Liam. We should let you go, and you've probably got fathering duties or fish to pickle or something, sheep to take care of, or
Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
for coming on, Liam. Bye.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to meet you, Josh.
You too.
Simon. Good
Yeah,
as
nice to
always.
see you again. No, hopefully I'll see you IRL again. We'll play a game of pool or something in a Brooklyn bar again in the future.
That would be
I hope-
lovely. Yeah.
Hope Iris as well and the kiddo, and I hope the book goes well. Yeah, again, pick it up, dickheads.
Cheers.
It's great.
All right. Thanks.
All
Cheers,
right.
guys.
You're free to go, Liam. Thank you so much. You're a trooper.
See ya.